Joe's Astrology. This is the birth chart for Klaus Schwab, and there's no time for him here, so no rising, no houses, and he is a Pisces moon. And I'm not sure. I think he could be an Aries moon, but let's just assume he's a Pisces moon. And a Sun in Aries conjunct Saturn. And I want to start here with this Jupiter. I don't know that much about Klaus Schwab. Let me just say this first. I started a Patreon. And if you do sign up for the Patreon, I'm going to do full hour, in-depth astrology readings for these charts, including Klaus Schwab, which I'll include much more about him and his life, more so that I don't know right now that I can research. So if you sign up for my Patreon, that's what I'm going to be doing soon. I'll have other ones as well. I'll have Diddy on there in depth, and I'll consistently update my Patreon as well. So here we have Klaus Schwab, and I'm going to kind of base this off of knowing that I think it was him that said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And in a sense, this would be like a renter's world, which here in the United States and many other places, for sure, we quickly are becoming a renter's planet. And first of all, here with this Jupiter here in Aquarius, with Jupiter in Aquarius, I think of someone who would say something like that, somebody who would try to make the majority of the population be on like an even playing field. And before anyone who hates Klaus Schwab, before you jump out of your seat, let me finish. And I do think it also could correlate with someone who's a social engineer, who kind of enjoys playing that game, engineering society to move in a certain way, in a certain direction. And this Jupiter is also squaring the nodes. So he has the South Node in Taurus and the North Node in Scorpio. So there's a lot of money signatures here too, which I'll get into, but just want to kind of say here with this Jupiter squaring the nodes and this idea of Scorpio or being a psychic or being into psychology, the guy may, and he does have Pluto here, an exact trine to that North Node, the guy may be privy to the future more so than most people for a number of reasons. So I will say that. Not to say he's psychic, but he probably is privy to the future for a number of reasons. So that would be why he's speaking like that. And he also has this Jupiter in conjunct Neptune and Venus in conjunct Neptune as well. And then Venus is sextile Jupiter. So he has a yod here between those planets. And Jupiter and Venus in an exact sextile, it's very, very fortunate alignment, which if you watch my other readings, I talk about the trine and the sextile. So, of course, Klaus Schwab would have this super rich persons with a in conjunct out to Neptune, being an idealist, maybe, from his standpoint, he could be living in ideals, in his own ideals, or just idealism in general, because, in his eyes, he's not seeing things from other people's perspective. He's very fortunate with that Jupiter-Venus, and then kind of the in conjunct to Neptune there. He would have to make some adjustments in his personal life to see the reality, because with that alignment, he's not seeing the reality, and he may be making adjustments in order to get what he wants, or to get whoever he works for to get what they want. And he does have a moon in Pisces, and it's opposite that Neptune. So you can see opposite his moon. Moon is a very personal planet for a person, and it's in Pisces, so more of that Neptune energy of idealism, dreaminess, And with Neptune opposite that moon, he, he's certainly maybe looking out onto the public and seeing his dreams, seeing his idealism come to life. Now, I also could see this with this chart. It's possible that with that Neptune Venus, with the Venus close to the Sun, Venus Mercury in late degrees of Aries, which is a pretty good place for Venus, despite being in Aries where it's in its fall. And with the Moon in Pisces, the Jupiter in Aquarius, even the South Node in Taurus to some degree because the Moon is exalted there. Maybe this guy is kind of going along with the inevitable in his mind, which will be the inevitable, and he would have that Aquarius mentality of evening the playing field as far as like, not, I shouldn't even say even the playing field economically, but just seeing that Aquarian vision of the Aquarian vision of living in an ideal society where people are more equal. I'm not really sure how to say it. Equal is not the right word. But I think of like ownership and renting, where if you're renting and if you're in a society or you're in a culture where you're constantly moving around, you're meeting a lot of different people. So it's going to automatically change the environment. It's going to change the consciousness of the people when more people are living in different environments as opposed to living in the same environment their whole life. So from that standpoint, I can see him kind of living in an Aquarian ideal, and it's not so much some kind of evil agenda from his perspective. He does have, now as far as like some of the things you might see where he's a little bit of a stickler with this kind of stuff. He's a Sun Saturn in Aries, ruled by Mars. You could think of somebody with a Sun Saturn in Aries as being someone, if they were going to have like an evil agenda or an agenda that people don't like or that's violent, you would have a Saturn. You could have a Saturn Sun conjunction in Aries, and a Mars Uranus. You can see more of that Aquarius stuff with the Mars Uranus conjunction, where his Mars is connected to Uranus, where he's driven to understand and peddle Uranian ideals. And you see it's there in a South Node, and the ruler of the South Node is Venus, and it's in Aries. So even with the South Node, though, you can see that he may be kind of stuck and stuck in his ways, maybe stuck in, I wouldn't say frustrated, but like very fixed on these intentions that he has, which would be why I think if you were going to see someone who had certain intentions that were not really for the best public good, and it would actually take a long time to implement life after life. This is kind of what you would see. You'd see stubborn energy like a South Node in Taurus conjunct Mars and Uranus, where the person is feeling stuck because it's a very hard agenda to think of taking over the world, essentially. It's like, I think of like Pinky and the Brain, where someone like the Brain, Pinky's asking the Brain, what are we going to do tonight? Same thing we do every night, try and take over the world. It's that kind of chart. It's that kind of energy. Even with the Pisces there, like the dreaming of taking over the world. That's what you would see. You wouldn't see a North Node, a stacked North Node, because that would mean that it's actually coming true. And this is a kind of agenda it's like the impossible agenda to take over the world. Now Pluto there is making, is interesting with that square to to that Venus. It's also making a trine to the moon and in conjunct to Jupiter, as well as I said that north node. So there's a lot of, and Mercury. So there's a lot of aspects to Pluto, and Pluto can be known as the planet of the underworld. But again, as I said, if he's a person who's psychic or thinks he's psychic or likes to do research and likes to investigate where the world might be headed on somebody else's agenda, and he's just kind of going along with that from that perspective, I could see that as well. But again, like I said, this is just a quick, short reading. There's no time. And I will do an in-depth for many, if not all, of the charts that I'm reading. So again, check out my Patreon. Hopefully soon I can get some of these charts up there and go in real deep and really see if I can come up with some conclusions with more time. So I hope you enjoyed this reading with Klaus Schwab, and I hope you have a great day.